Today we have with us Ma'am Yvette, who has done something that we've all dreamed about to do in our lifetime. She has recently had the opportunity of attending the Pope's Eucharistic celebration in the UAE. Hello and a warm welcome, Ma'am Yvette.
Thank you, Lucius.
So glad to see you on our program, CCR TV.
Same here.
Ma'am Yvette, can you tell our viewers something about yourself?
I am a retired teacher of Fatima Convent, Margaon. I now live in Veli. I have 3 grown-up children, married.
Wow, which subjects do you teach?
I taught mostly English and social studies in the higher classes, but I've taught practically all the other subjects except Hindi and maths, which I hated.
Okay. We would like to know how you got the opportunity to see the Pope.
I was in the UAE for a month, and they announced that within the next 2 weeks, in fact within the next 1 week, you had to apply if you wanted to go for the Mass. Everybody who applied wasn't guaranteed a chance to attend.
Okay.
They made that very clear from the beginning. And I, being just a visitor, I was not sure at all. I had to fill in some forms and go through security clearance, and others also had to, register at each parish and wait to see whether they had the luck to get in. People in Dubai and all, I understand there was a lottery for each parish, and a certain number were the lucky ones to be allowed a chance to go. Many people who applied were not sure of a ticket and did not get a ticket too.
So you were the lucky one.
Absolutely, yes.
So when you learned about the confirmation, about you winning this opportunity, you being one of the lucky ones, what went through your mind and heart?
Actually, it was strange, but it was almost as if I was sure I would be there. Even when they bought the ticket for me, they bought it so that I could leave immediately after the Mass, and that's exactly what I did. 2 hours after the Mass was over, I was on my way to catch my plane.
A quick movement.
Yes.
So you had a gut instinct that you were going to get this and you were meant to get this.
Maybe that.
Can you describe to us the atmosphere you felt when you went to the venue?
It was very pleasant. It was like dark and early morning because we had to walk about 2 kilometers to reach the place because of parking problems. I mean, they were expecting a really huge crowd of almost 2 lakhs. Okay. So, yeah, everybody comes in their own, of course they had their private, the government had arranged shuttle buses also for people coming in from Dubai. From 1 o'clock in the morning, the buses started. The Mass was to be at 10:30. So, from 1 to 5, the buses were coming in, and security clearance had to be by 8 o'clock. So we all had to reach there before, considering the number of crowds trying to get in, we would have to be there well in advance, so we reached the final point. It was really nice, air of silence and cold expectancy, the cool air.
Yes.
Seeing the policemen on the route, they looked like commandos, the way they were standing in line guarding the venue, the approach to the thing. And there was a kind of nice air of camaraderie, all of us moving together in a sort of spirit of unity, various different nationalities, because I understand that there were 100 different nationalities present at the Mass. And there were people carrying chairs, 4 collapsible chairs, those who didn't get entrance in the stadium. And of course, when you reached the stadium itself, there was a huge zigzag line, to avoid a stampede, they were streamlining the process so that people could go in safely, enter safely. And that's how it was.
So it was quite organized.
Very organized, very orderly. I just give them full marks for the organization.
So what was the preparations done for this one?
At the venue, you mean?
Yes, for the venue.
Yeah, at the venue, what happened is they had a football match just a few days before that.
I was watching it. The Asia World Cup.
Yes,
the Asia Cup, right?
Yes. So they had just finished that, and in 3 days, this young lady, Aisha al-Bakush, her name was, she was in charge of the events at the Presidential Palace, I think, something like that. And she had just been promoted to that post, and 2 years before that, and she hardly believed that this huge, massive event was going to be under her. So in 3 days, she had to prep the whole stadium. She had about 5,000 workers, government workers, 2,000 volunteers, and of course all the other leaders who helped her on this thing. She planned the whole thing in the whole stadium. About 50,000 people who would be at the stadium. They had little freebies for everybody, a cap, a flag, a papal flag with a papal emblem, and a mass booklet, all beautiful things. Perhaps you'll see pictures of them. And then the center part of the stadium, there was she had to raise a huge altar, and that too without damaging anything down. She did a huge beautiful altar, and then right in the middle there was a squared off area. She had laid out a wooden kind of platform so that the grass below would not be damaged. She had to cover it with a carpet and then make the arrangements for all the blocks in there. Everywhere there were blocks of people coming in from this place, that place, the other place. And of course the arrangements for the priests and all must have been fantastic. Actually the Pope, the visit had been prepared about 2 years before that. The Sheikh, Al-Nahyan, he had gone and visited the Pope and invited him to Dubai.
Okay.
And I get the impression that everything was confirmed only in December 6th. That is 1 month before we actually had the visit. And at that time, people from Dubai went to the Vatican, asked permission to see the papal masses. The Vatican people were very warm towards them and helped them to understand the whole mass and gave them a lot of extra inputs for that. So with all that, you know, it's a fully Muslim country, but in spite of that, they did everything so beautifully in collaboration with the church.
In just 3 days.
In just 3 days. It was a massive, the lady in charge said she hardly slept 5 hours those 3 days.
Hats off to that lady.
Absolutely.
She really made this possible.
She made it possible. And you know, the Sheikh, Al-Nahyan, he told her, I want this, she's the Deputy Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. He told her, see, I want the youth to be able to rise up to the occasion and do something. Come on, do it. And she did it.
Okay, she really kept her word, and she's...
You know, she's a Muslim lady. Muslim ladies are usually so conservative and all. And she really showed us what they could do.
Pretty impressive.
Yes.
What was the mood of the people as they were anticipating and getting ready for the arrival of the Pope in church? Like
in the stadium. Yeah,
yes.
in the stadium. In the beginning, you know, we had to wait for about 4.5 hours before the Pope came in. So in the beginning, everybody was with their families talking and that. And but after that, as the time neared, they had these huge big screens, really huge big screens, in which they gave us a run-up of the Pope's visit, how he was received so graciously by the Sheikh and other people, the wonderful impressive arrangements they made for him when he came. Then various things that he had done while he was in the UAE. And the choir also sang, practicing some hymns or maybe just helping the people get the mood set. So when the Pope actually came, the upbeat mood became even stronger. There was a high rise of shouting, Viva il Papa, long live the Pope, we love you Pope Francis, etc. And then the pictures showed us, the screens showed us the pictures of him entering the stadium.
Screens, so there were screens placed?
Giant screens placed all around. And even outside the stadium, because...
How many?
I don't know how many outside. Inside, I was told there were at least 8. And outside, like 2/3 of the people, more than 2/3 of the people were outside, the people who did not get tickets inside.
Okay.
Or passes inside. Nothing was paid for. Everything was sponsored by the government. They gave free food to breakfast, to they actually night meals for all the people coming in from Dubai and from other places. They prepared about 1.2 lakh breakfast midnight meals for those people, because they were going to be about 12 hours in the area and no food was being sold anywhere there. Then for the breakfast people, another 1.20 lakh meals distributed free of charge. You know, and there was such clean garbage arrangements, like there was no garbage anywhere. These guys used to come around with their bags and they would ask you, are you done with this? And they would take whatever.
So it was really organized, and they were helping out the people, like giving them food. That's a lot of money with the amount of people there.
Absolutely. So considerate and kind, you know.
Yes,
it was the
really
thoughtfulness
kind-hearted.
and the, it's not just kind-hearted, it was their, I feel the Muslim people are quite great in their own way.
So were you in the stadium?
Yes, I was in the stadium.
So did you get to see the Pope close up at any
No,
time?
not so close up. You know, we could see him because he came quite close to the rails, but I've
Okay.
seen popes much closer. And, you know, everybody was just shouting, and there were so many false alarms. And when he finally came, and everybody went bonkers. They were shouting, standing up, calling out, and he too was so kind, moving around. You know, he went close to as far as he could go, the middle pitch, and also right round. He went close to all the people, as close as his mobile would take
Some
him.
people got to touch him also.
Absolutely right, yes.
Okay, wow,
He's
that's an
lucky guys,
experience.
very much, yes.
So I think you mentioned not as close as I've seen other popes. So is this the first time you've seen a pope?
No, no, no. I was very lucky because when Pope John Paul II came to go, I was in charge of the VIP lounge, and the Pope was giving communion just about a meter away from me. You know, I could see the strands of his hair and, you know, his face. I remember that so vividly. He was like almost as close as you are to I am. And then also when I was a child, I was part of the Eucharistic Congress choir. Pope John Saul VI had come in. And, you know, we got to see him much closer than this.
So you actually got to see the pope so close that you could see this.
Silver strands of hair. I could see one at a time, all of them flying in the wind.
Wow, that's an amazing experience.
Yes.
So don't you think many people say UAE is quite a Muslim country, right?
It is.
So how did the pope get invited to the UAE?
The Muslim leader, Al Nahyan, he wanted to have tolerance in the UAE. And he had, this year was called the Year of Tolerance. And they decided to invite him here because they are a very tolerant people. I told you there are so many nationalities there, about 100 nationalities. 85% of the population is not from Abu Dhabi at all. The locals are just 15%. It's all people from all over the world.
Well, what would be your message to the viewers that you would have either taken from the Pope or your own personal message you would like to tell us all?
You know, there was something that struck me. You know, people talk a lot about Pope Francis. In fact, I went to that mass because I wanted to hear something from him. But you know, they say actions speak louder than words.
Yes.
So there was something I saw on those large screens I told you about before the mass. A meeting had been arranged in the church for children with special needs, paralyzed people, mentally retarded people, emotionally disturbed people, blind, lame, whatever. They and their parents. And in this church, they had, you know, since the pictures were so large, there were images of the Pope's face as large as a window or a door. So you could really see his personal expressions and see so much of his inner being. He spoke in his homily about the meaning of Christian life being in communion with God, and he also spoke about having an inner love for people. As he reached out to the people were just longing to touch him. People were just surging forward to touch him, and he was, you know, giving himself, touch, touch, you want to touch me. And mostly it was the grown-ups who wanted to touch him, and some were just clinging to him. But the thing was the goodness in his face, the kindness, I wouldn't even say, the kindness on his face, it really came through. Such a childlike, welcoming expression. I really got insight into his personality. And you know, the children who didn't understand who he was, like small kids may not understand, no, this is a pope and whatever. He would go around on his own while people were busy touching him. He was touching the children, caressing them, tenderly holding them. You know, I could see that goodness of the man just flowing out of him, that inner love, that word kindness, you know. Everybody talks about him being a charismatic pope. Everybody wants to hear him because he has such lovely things to say. But the goodness of the man just flowed out of him.
Can you tell me something about the sermon and the theme of the Mass?
The theme was that lovely Ignatian song. They put a lot of the hymns that Saint Ignatius, their founder, had in the Mass. The theme song was "Make me a channel of your peace." You know, where there is hatred, let there be love, etc. And his sermon was based on the Sermon of the Mount, especially the first part. Matthew chapter 5 begins the Sermon on the Mount. There are about 3 chapters in the Sermon on the Mount, and he did the beginning part. I don't know if you know this, recognize it. Blessed are the poor, for they shall be something.
Yes,
those
I've heard
who
that.
mourn, they
Yes,
shall be
I've heard that.
comforted. The pure in heart, they shall see God. those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, that whole thing. That was the gospel. So he started by talking about what was blessed. And he said anybody is blessed if they are trying to live by the teachings that Jesus, if they listen to Jesus and are trying to live by the teachings that Jesus has given.
Yes.
He said that the world talks about money and fame and ambition and prestige and power.
Yes.
That is not what Jesus did. He came with nothing, and his only wealth was love. And he said that what we want is peace in this world. We should have a life lived according to what Jesus lived. Jesus healed so many people, but he himself, he allowed so much suffering in his life, especially if you know the last year of Jesus.
Yes, he sacrificed himself for us.
Yes, so he sacrificed himself for us.
sin.
So that's something that we should be doing. He thought that was a very important thing, that we do as Jesus did. Now, who dies for another person? Only if you love a person. No, a mother will go into a burning house and save a child. So we should have that kind of love. He didn't say this particular example, but this is what he meant. We should have that type of sacrificial love. God the Father allowed his Son to come on earth, suffer and die such a miserable death. Very few people die such a miserable death, but he died that miserable death because he loved us. We should also be ready to die for others. What else did he say? He spoke about, I told you this other point about every Christian's life has meaning if it has communion with God.
Yes.
And has this inner love for others. And as you said in your own words, he walked the talk.
Yes.
He said that sometimes he spoke because he was talking to an audience mostly of migrants. You know, most of the people I told you are from other countries. So he said, you all must be feeling lonely, you are alone, you are struggling in a different place to make a life for your families. And sometimes you might feel that God has abandoned you, but don't forget, God has never abandoned you. And he gave the example of Saint Anthony, who was the father of desert monasticism, I think. And he said he went through a lot of spiritual torment. And he's talking about the desert because that is a desert area, you understood. And in that torment, finally one day he asked God, why aren't you with me? Why have you abandoned me?
Okay.
And God says to him, I was always with you. And he's saying, that's my message to you. No matter what your struggles are in this world, he is always with you. These are some of the points that I came back with from the sermon. It was actually translated into Arabic, but on the screens it was in English.
In English.
Yes.
So you understood it to the core.
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about the Pope?
It was really nice seeing him coming in that Pope mobile. I've never seen that when I was a little kid, when we had it, when I was at the St. Paul's VI thing, and I didn't see it at John Paul II's thing in Goa either. The first one was in Mumbai. So here, you know, we've seen it in pictures. He goes in that Pope mobile, and all the people, you know, in the uniform, in their lovely suits, they're running around by the side of him. I liked that part very much, to see that part. And then, you know, these Arabs in their lovely long flowing robes, white robes, and the ladies in their very elegant head to foot, what's that, hijab, I think they call it. They were so elegant over there. The men folk also were so, you know, so nice seeing the Pope with all those people. I like that part very much. And I like the style. I didn't tell you about, they had policemen on horseback. Beautiful Arab stallions.
So because the Pope was such an important and respected person, there's a lot of security over there.
Of course, he's the head of state, Vatican State. So he is accorded the same respect as President Trump or Theresa May or any of our world leaders. So not only has he that respect of a state head, he's also a religious head of the, I think it's the largest religion in the world, the Christian religion.
Yes.
So he has, and he's such a person, his personality
humble,
is so, so respected by the whole world. Kings and heads of state go out to meet him. They go all the way to his palace and meet him. And you know, that 1 hour contact he has with them, I used to wonder what it's all about until I saw with my own eyes the beauty of the man.
I think you're a really lucky person to have met the Pope, and not even one Pope, like not only one Pope, but like 2 popes.
3 popes.
3?
Pope John the Sixth.
Yes.
Sorry, Pope Paul the Sixth when I
Paul
was
the
a
Sixth.
schoolgirl. Pope John Paul II when he came to Goa. And now,
3 popes in your entire life.
Yes, yes.
You're a really lucky
I am.
person. It's a pleasure to meet you. And as we end this program, we wish you many more holy and really incredible experiences for your future life.
thank you. I hope you get them. You've got a long life ahead. Who knows, you may see 5 popes.